Chapter 60 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. Lin Qingyu had no appetite, but he still listened to Gu Fu Zhao and opened the food box on the carriage. On the top layer was freshly baked biscuits, golden, crispy, and steaming. Lin Qingyu picked up a biscuit and ate them in small bites as he reorganized his mind with things that had happened last night. If he hadn't known the ins and outs of the whole thing in advance, he would definitely have thought that Shao Cheng really was suffering from a sudden illness. Despite such a big event, the palace guards hadn't made any moves. The crown prince was attacked by an assassin. Shouldn't they be searching the entire palace? Why had they simply blocked any news from coming out of the Eastern Palace? How did Shen Haoshi succeed in attacking Shao Cheng? Did he escape successfully? And where was he now? Lin Qingyu knew that overthinking was useless. For now, the only plan was to wait and watch the changes. That afternoon, Gu Fu Zhao rushed to his house. This time, he didn't climb over the wall and instead walked straight through the main entrance. When Huan Tong saw the god of war he so admired, his eyes shone and his hands trembled as he served tea. Gu Fu Zhao assumed a reserved and unsmiling expression, asking Huan Tong with a straight face if he wanted his autograph. Gu Fu Zhao, I don't think autograph was a thing at that point of time. Lin Qingyu couldn't help but admire how Gu Fu Zhao was still in the mood to tease at a time like this. He sent the confused Huan Tong away and asked, "How is the situation in the palace?" Gu Fu Zhao took a sip of tea and said, "At morning court, Shao Cheng was absent due to illness and the Prime Minister presided over the meeting. On the surface, everything else seemed the same as usual, but the atmosphere in the palace was obviously not right. It felt as though a rising wind forbids a coming storm. I have no clue what that means." Lin Qingyu asked, "Illness? Exactly how ill? Is Shao Cheng still clear-headed?" Gu Fu Zhao said, "I don't know. The many imperial physicians who had gone last night had not returned, indicating that Shao Cheng was seriously injured and that his life was hanging by a thread. Who ordered the blockade of news and arranged his substitution at morning court? The emperor?" Gu Fu Zhao went on and said, "I asked the guards on duty in the palace and they also haven't received any news last night. They also hadn't heard about any assassin. To sum up, whether it was Shao Cheng or the emperor, neither of them probably wants the whole city to learn about this incident." Lin Qingyu nodded in agreement. Although the emperor's condition has improved, he was still only able to read reports in his sleeping chambers, discuss issues, making decisions on major matters, and other such things were left to Shao Cheng. With the current emperor's state, if something were to happen to the crown prince responsible for supervising the country, the ministers would be left without a leader. The government will be destabilized and the country will be thrown into turmoil. If he were the emperor, he too would choose to suppress news of this incident and then send secret agents to investigate secretly. The more Lin Qingyu thought about it, the more irritable he felt. He rubbed his temples and said, "If Shao Cheng had just been killed on the spot, this situation wouldn't be so troublesome. Couldn't Shen Haoshi have been a bit more decisive, even just this once? It might not be that he'd gone soft-hearted. There may have been other circumstances at the time." Gu Fu Zhao smiled. Jingyu, do you know how to deduce using scenario reproduction? Lin Jingyu had never heard of it, but he more or less could guess what Gu Fuzhao wanted to express. How do you want to do it? Gu Fuzhao pulled Lin Jingyu to side, eager to try it. Think of yourself as Shao Cheng and think of me as Shen Haoshi. Let's reenact what may have happened at that time. Maybe it can help you clear your mind. Lin Jingyu sat back down. Lin Jingyu sat back down, saying, boring. Then I will play Shao Cheng and you play Shen Haoshi. Without waiting for Lin Jingyu to utter another boring, Gu Fuzhao sat down on the bunk, glanced at Lin Jingyu, and did a remarkably accurate impersonation of Shao Cheng. Still stuck dumb? What? I haven't seen you for a few days, and now you have forgotten how to serve me in bed? Lin Jingyu, ... Gu Fuzhao's original intention was to make Lin Jingyu relax, but there was no helping it if he couldn't go along. Just as he was thinking of other ways to coax the other, he heard Lin Jingyu say, Shen Haoshi has been missing for 2 days. Shouldn't Shao Cheng ask him where he'd gone first? Gu Fuzhao curled his lips into a smile and changed his words. Where have you been these past 2 days? Lin Jingyu walked slowly to the bed, thinking about what Shen Haoshi could have possibly said and done. Since Shen Haoshi failed to kill Shao Cheng with a single strike, it was very likely that he had still given Shao Cheng a chance to quibble. I have something to ask you. I hope you can tell me the answer. Gu Fuzhao narrowed his eyes. First, tell me where you have gone. Lin Jingyu pursed his lips and said nothing, a storm brewing in his eyes. Suddenly, something clamped around his waist. Gu Fuzhao had grabbed him around the waist and pulled him to the bed. Lin Jingyu wanted to struggle, but felt that this was indeed a move that Shao Cheng would pull, so he let Gu Fuzhao press him down. Gu Fuzhao supported his body with one hand and pinched Lin Jingyu's face with the other. He said coldly, I haven't seen you for 2 days. You have got some temper. I asked you a question. Are you deaf or stupid? Did you not hear? Gu Fuzhao didn't put his weight on Lin Jingyu, but simply pressed down with his hand without much of any force behind it. Lin Jingyu could easily break free, just like Shen Haoshi could easily break free from Shao Cheng. But would Shao Cheng have broken free? Obedience to Shao Cheng's orders was an instinct engraved in his bones, and his body has long been conditioned to satisfy a man's desires in bed. It might take some time before Shen Haoshi is able to break through the shackles and resist his instincts. Lin Jingyu didn't struggle, shrinking back deeper into the bed. He didn't know if Shen Haoshi would shrink, but he himself wanted to create a bit more distance between himself and Gu Fuzhao. Although they had hugged before, it was the first time for them to be in bed like this, in this one above the other position. Looking at Gu Fuzhao from this angle, he could see Gu Fuzhao's Adam apple and short chin. His own figure was too different from Gu Fuzhao's. His whole person was shrouded in the breath of another man. The feeling of domination and control made him inexplicably flustered. Still not talking? Very well. Gu Fuzhao's breathing gradually became messy. It doesn't matter. I have a way to get you to speak. After speaking, Gu Fuzhao stopped moving. Lin Qingyu forced himself to remain composed and asked, "What is your way?" Gu Fuzhao looked at the teardrop mole at the corner of Lin Qingyu's eyes. He calmed himself and said with a smile, "500 words are omitted here. He probably pulled some evil tricks on you, taking advantage of you, messing with you until your clothes are in disarray, your hair scattered haphazardly. Out of respect, he wouldn't mess with Lin Qingyu's clothes, but it shouldn't be too out of the line to play with his hair." Gu Fuzhao's hand touched Lin Qingyu's hair and he took off the hair clasp that he was wearing. His black hair was scattered like stain. Oh, sorry. His black hair was scattered like satin and hung down on Lin Qingyu's shoulders, adding a touch of glamour to him. Gu Fuzhao put the hair clasp on the pillow and said, "At this time, Shen Haoshi must have been thinking about the heavenly prison sect, but his body was insulted by Shaocheng. The servility he had cultivated for many years was finally broken. He had awakened and he wanted to resist. This emotional change was reasonable. Lin Qingyu tried to push Gu Fuzhao away but was held down even more forcefully by Gu Fuzhao. "What are you resisting for? After doing it so many times, are you still afraid?" Gu Fuzhao said in a deep voice. "There's nothing to be afraid of. I'm not big at all. There is no need for you to bear anything." After speaking, he couldn't hold back and even laughed out loud. I'm sorry, I broke character." Did he say, like, I'm not big at all to insult Shaocheng? Wow, that's so funny. I like this kind of like role play, like, because it would have been too emotional if we actually have seen Shen Haoshi and Shaocheng play through this, because those would be like the actual actions, or like, actual things that happened. But this kind of gives us a little bit of, space for both of our characters to be close to and have this kind of like, one top of another playing with hair kind of a situation without being too forceful. Lin Qingyu put his hands on Gu Fuzhao's chest, raised his eyebrows and said, "Would Shaocheng say that about himself? But say the opposite, that should be about right." "Don't worry about those details," Gu Fuzhao whispered. "Let's continue." Lin Qingyu's eyes darkened. He turned over and sat on Gu Fuzhao's back. He picked up the hair clasp by the pillow and pressed it against his throat. 3 years ago, how was the heavenly prison site destroyed?" Gu Fuzhao put away his smile and said in shock, "Did someone say something to you? Shen Haoshi, if you dare lay a hand on me, I won't spare you." "I'm just asking you, was it the Red Fang sect or the Tanji camp that fought the heavenly prison sect that night?" Gu Fuzhao gritted his teeth and said, "Where did you hear this from? Tell me, I just want the truth." "The truth?" Gu Fuzhao sneered. "The truth is that you should have gone down to the Yellow Springs along with the rest of the heavenly prison sect. It was I who saved you. I did everything to let you live. What else do you want?" Lin Qingyu imagined himself as Shen Haoshi and gradually lost himself in his role. "So, it's all true. It was the Tianji camp. It was you." Gu Fuzhao grabbed Lin Qingyu's wrist and said sternly, an assassin organization in the imperial court, having lost the trust of the emperor, will surely die. No one could have saved them, nor even I. That I could save you is already. Shut up! Lynching you exerted strength in his hand, and the hair clasp almost pierced Gu Fuja's throat. I will never trust you again. Go to hell. At the climax of the play, Huan Tong's voice, so out of tune with the situation, suddenly came from the outside the door. Young master, it's time to eat. Will General Gu be staying for the meal as well? The two of them looked at each other. Gu Fuzhao said, could it be that Shen Haoshi had also been interrupted? That's possible. Lin Qingyu got off Gu Fuzhao. Shen Haoshi panicked and made a slip. He didn't have time to completely frag him. Why do you sound more and more like you came from my hometown? Gu Fuzhao was too lazy to move and maintain his previous posture. But these are just speculations. I'm afraid that only Shen Haoshi and Shao Cheng actually know what happened that night. We will just have to wait. There'll be news. Lin Qingyu pondered. People in the Eastern Palace are the most tight-lipped. If we want news, the only possible sources are Hu Ji and Shao Songxi. Fu Ji asked, who's Shao Songxi? A eunuch in Xinjiang Palace. A lot of the information I know I got from him. Gu Fuzhao joked. With such a loose mouth, no wonder he's called Shao Shangxi. I don't know what that means. Lin Qingyu, ... Huan Tong, who still hadn't gotten a response outside, said again, Young master, are you in there? Lin Qingyu asked Gu Fuzhao, are you going to stay for dinner? Yes, Gu Fuzhao said lazily. I can finish off 3 bowls of rice in one meal now, so ask Huan Tong to prepare more meat. Lin Qingyu still had his long hair loose. He instructed Huan Tong, keeping the door closed between them. There was no mirror in the study, so he tried several times but failed to tie his long hair. He couldn't help complaining. We might have been reproducing the scene, but did you have to mess with my hair? Gu Fuzhao smiled and said, Sorry, I couldn't hold back. Here, let me help. Lin Qingyu sat at the table and let Gu Fuzhao fiddle with his hair. He suddenly thought of something and said, By the way, let me feel your abdominal muscles. Gu Fuzhao was a little surprised, but also a little gratified. Imperial physician Lin actually asked to touch my abs? Come, no need to be polite. Feel free. Lin Qingyu touched it a couple of times and said, It wasn't just my imagination just now. What do you mean? Lin Qingyu jokingly said, Your abdominal muscles really aren't that tight anymore. Gu Fuzhao was immediately on high alert and he touched it himself. No way! I lift weights every day. I heard that when General Gu used to stay in the capital, he would train for 8 hours a day. It was only then that he managed to develop such a figure. How long did you lift weights now? Gu Fuzhao said, depressed. About an hour? Lin Qingyu said lightly. Looks like you need to take care then, General Gu. No, don't lose your abs. Your abs is like, your praiseworthy assets. You still haven't lifted your wife? Don't lose your abs yet.